Earlier this week, I had a chance to talk to Andy Kohlhofer, who's running for the New Hampshire House from Rockingham District 33. Great conversation, lots of topics. Give a listen. All right, we are talking to Andy Kohlhofer, who is running for the New Hampshire House in Rockingham 33. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and we're going to have a little conversation about some of the issues, and let's just start with tell us a little bit about yourself and then why you chose to run for the New Hampshire House.
All right, well, what should I say? Well, I actually chaired the Methuen Republican Town Committee for a number of years in Methuen, Massachusetts, and during that time we grew to be one of the biggest town committees in the state, and we actually supported Mitt Romney, of course, over Ted Kennedy, and we beat Ted Kennedy in Methuen by 4 votes, which was pretty good. Pretty proud of that one. And then I moved to New Hampshire, and I subsequently became involved in the Budget Committee. And on the Budget Committee when I was on the Budget Committee for the first time, the school budget was actually voted down at the annual meeting. We were able to reduce the cost of our schools by significant amounts over the next 4 years. Then I ran for the school board, and we reformed. The first thing we did is we reformed the school, reorganized it, and we were able to keep costs down at least for the first 5 years I was on there. Last year, things kind of got out of control. And I'm running for state office because I really believe that America is going in the wrong direction. I believe that people are trying to substitute a country based in social justice rather than a country based in liberty. And it's my intent to fight as hard for the principles that to preserve liberty as those who do fight for to change over to social justice. And that's really why I'm running for a state rep.
So you've probably paid some attention to what goes on in the legislature. What is it that you've seen in, we'll just say the last 2 years, for example, that you'd like to change?
Well, a lot of things I'd like to change. One thing, I think the legislature stand up to the court system regarding the courts trying to tell the legislatures how to raise money for education. I think that's completely improper. The courts have no authority. They recently awarded a $14.5 million award to, they want the legislature to pay Dover $14.5 million. The Supreme Court has no authority to tell the legislature to raise funds. And I think the legislature tell the courts, sorry, we've taken care of it. We're phasing out the caps on aid, and we're not raising the money, so too bad. I think some of the other things I've seen are the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, which has raised the cost of energy in this state. It's made it extremely hard for businesses to get started in this state. And I think we need to eliminate the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. There's too many people who want to keep it because, we're getting money from it. We can give it back to customers. Well, why take money from the customers and then give it back to them? It makes no sense. Let them keep it in the first place. I actually read regarding the solar power and the net metering, and my eyes roll back into my head. You can't even understand it. It's so complicated. It's absolutely ridiculous. Net metering is one of the stupidest things. A couple states have eliminated it. We need to follow that. Let the energy market be the energy market, which also means we have to fight to get greater access to natural gas in the state. So
you're not a fan of the renewable fuel standard then either?
Yes, get rid of that. Get rid of that whole thing. I mean, natural. Get rid of the whole thing. The other thing too that I've seen is, like something the Democrats did is they expanded the definition of wetlands, and that took tens of thousands of acres in New Hampshire out of production. We actually have I know someone owns a piece of property here in Fremont, who their family had lumbered that property for 200 years, and he no longer can do it because of that rule. And not only does that cost the town money because we no longer can charge a timber tax, but now the land is virtually worthless, and that what we can tax it on is gone down dramatically. The other thing too is my property taxes have gone up almost 250% in the last 19 years actually. Yet the value of my house is not even doubled the assessment. So I think we need to take a look at how what the legislature requires and how the policies it has regarding municipal government and schools especially. I think schools we need to change completely take a look at our school system. I'm for absolute free school choice, but for school choice to work, you have to have no regulations regarding schools, so people have an absolute choice of what type of school they want. We need to get rid of the Blaine Amendment in the Constitution so that people can have educational savings account and use that money towards going to maybe religious schools. I think we need to take a real look at the accepting of federal money for our school system, because the regulations that come along with that federal money are extraordinarily burdensome. An example, our food vending contract is 20 pages devoted strictly to federal regulations, which is ridiculous. So, I mean, those are some of the things I'm looking at. I'm looking at changing the land use regulations. I'd love to cut that number by 50%. I think we need to take a look at the education regulations and start cutting that. In fact, I would love to eliminate the Department of Education here in New Hampshire, because it's just duplicative of the State Board of Education, which is actually by statute and by the Constitution has the authority to run the schools of New Hampshire. So we really don't need a Department of Education.
Second Amendment.
Second Amendment, definitely. I actually believe we should pass a law allowing people in municipalities to form their own militias. That's really what the Second Amendment's all about. And the militias, of course, would be under the guidance and control of the governor, but these militias would have to, they'd elect their own officers, unless there's someone who's part of the militia who's already in the National Guard and an officer there, they would be the officer, and they have to supply their own weapons and maintain them themselves in their own uniforms. But I really believe that, and we should also get rid of the stupid safe guns policy that schools have been adopting, because it doesn't make schools, saying we can't have guns in school does not make schools safer. People aren't going to say, oh, they have a safe gun policy, I can't go in there and hurt anybody. What we need to do, all it is it's really a backdoor way of getting anti-gun ideology into the schools. And so we need to eliminate that policy, because it doesn't make schools any safer. I believe in freedom to carry, and I also believe in freedom to concealed carry. I think people should be allowed to do it.
You would support the optional concealed carry permit?
Yes, I would.
Alrighty. Voter ID residency, domicile, big issue in the state for years and years and years. A couple of really bad judicial decisions. What do you think about that, and how do you think we fix it?
Well, the problem is we need to go through all the laws and consistently say what a domicile is, because it's contradictory through all the statutes in New Hampshire. So we probably even set a commission up and just have them go through every single law where domicile or resident is mentioned, how it's defined, and then come back and redo those statutes so they're all consistent. That's the first thing we need to do. Second thing we need to do, this domicile thing, goes right along with voter ID. This is, I think it's actually important that only people who live here vote. And I actually think that our I don't know who, but there may very well be people. We've had instances of people, on campaigns, voting in 2 states, on national campaigns, staying here long enough to vote, and voting in other states. I think they need to be prosecuted. There's not much you can do with that if you're attorney general that won't do that. But I believe it's people who live here ought to have the privilege of voting, and we should not, and they should reflect the real will of the New Hampshire public, and not a group of people who come in momentarily to change the tide of the vote.
All right, here's a big one. Might be the last one we have time for. Health insurance costs and Medicaid expansion.
Medicaid, no to Medicaid expansion. Well, first of all, our hands are kind of tied as long as Obamacare is in place, and hopefully Trump will get elected and they'll repeal parts of it. But what we need to do is we actually did it a couple of years ago in New Hampshire. We eliminated the community rating for insurance companies, and for some people, insurance rates spiked, but the number of insurance companies, multiple number of insurance companies moved in the state, and over a long period of time, actually insurance rates would have gone down as competition increased. We need to do that. We need to allow we need to allow like schools or other industries to sign contracts with physician practices, keep them on retainer to provide services for the people of that organization or that school. We should also allow for concierge services to provide medical care for people. We also need to take a look at the entire way we regulate the healthcare industry, and we need to make it much more competitive.
All right, one more thing. I assume you've been talking to voters. What is on their minds? What's the most important thing to them in 2016?
The cost of living in New Hampshire is the most important thing. People have seen their electricity rates go up, their energy rates go up, their property taxes go up, the cost of schools go up, the cost of municipal government going up, and they're not, and without seeing any positive improvements or efficiencies. And I think that's what a lot of people are telling me. They don't know how much longer they can stay in New Hampshire. It's becoming extremely difficult, especially for people on fixed incomes or people who are not on the higher scale. And when you add to that the inability, the lack of manufacturing jobs, and as they've sort of moved out of state, there's not a lot of opportunities for people coming out of school, to work in a meaningful, well-paying job. So I think we need to take a look at that.
All right, if anybody wanted to get a hold of you or do something to help your campaign, how would they reach you?
They could reach me on my cell phone at 603-867-3999.
All right, Andy, thank you very much for taking some time to talk to me today.
Thank you. I wish I had more time.
Yeah, you have a great evening.
All right, you too.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, that was Andy Kohlhofer, Rockingham District 33. Give him a call if you want to help him out. The 603 Alliance is hosting world-renowned author Trevor Loudon in Nashua for the New Hampshire premiere showing of the new film based on his best-selling book, The Enemies Within. The premiere showing is next Friday, September 16th, 7 p.m. at the Crown Plaza in Nashua. Tickets are only $10 per person. You can reserve a spot in advance and pay at the door, or you can pay online at 603alliance.org. If you would like additional information about the event or Trevor Loudon, please contact event manager Dial Lothrop at 603-864-9287.